Oh, shalom, shalom. This is John Craig, and it is, yes, let us reason together. And I'm glad that you are joining me and us this morning. I've got some great co-hosts I'm going to be introducing here shortly, but it is, yes, another episode we got planned for you today. A lot of great stuff going on besides the headlines from around the world and besides those shower thoughts that make you say, but we also have a great Torah portion planned for you. We're going to have a great discussion, and you're going to want to stick around at the next half hour where we get into the uncensored news. I think you're going to find that very, very interesting and eye-opening. So stick around with us as we go through what we have planned today. But what is today all about? It's based on Isaiah 118, where it says, "Come now and let us reason together, says Yahweh. Though your sins are as scarlet, they will be as white as snow. Though they are red like crimson, they will be like wool." This is where we sit down, reason out current events, cultural shifts, and of course, this week's Torah portion. We can either push back or push through. Nevertheless, if iron does not sharpen iron, sparks will never fly. And how do you get a fire going without sparks, right? So without a little heat and a good midrash, we do. I mean, how would our hearts ever get soft and moldable enough to be transformed in the way that the Spirit, the Ruach HaKodesh, wants us to be? And have a little fun along the way. Because why do we want to have fun, or why do we want to laugh a little bit? Because laughter is good medicine. Here's our verse of the day taken from this week's half Torah portion. It's from Isaiah 43:21. Actually, I've got two verses in here. That whole passage is actually pretty cool. But I'll start out with Isaiah 43:21, followed by Isaiah 44:21. "The people whom I formed for myself will declare my praise." Isn't that something? Doesn't that not give us what we are about? Declaring his praise if we are truly formed by him. And then Isaiah 44:21, "Remember these things, O Jacob and Israel, for you are my servant. I have formed you. You are my servant. O Israel, you will not be forgotten by me." Wow, talking about current events, and we want to know that he'll never leave us or forsake us. Well, there's the verses of the day. Just thought I'd just share that with you. And as we come now to introduce our guest host, well, who am I going to introduce first? I have my lovely wife with me today. I told you we're going to have a little fun along the way.
I don't call that fun. First, you give the wrong intro, and then you give me 2 seconds to come into the picture, and I haven't even adjusted my blanket.
Yeah. So I'm looking at this picture, and if you have these little tiles that have pictures about what the intro looks like, and it has Sandy's face, which we use for our headlines.
And
that's the first one that's right there, and it's right next to Eddie and Tammy's.
I think I'll push not like.
What? Yeah, you gotta like the show. Gotta like it. Give us a thumbs up. Yeah, at least.
I'm cold.
Okay, so that's Miss Sandi Craig. How are you this morning?
Cold.
Yeah.
Looking at my schedule for the day, I'm feeling.
Breathe in.
A little pressure.
Breathe out. Breathe in. And sugar. This is sugar. You see the top of her head. Here
she's
she
gonna
is.
come in and make sure she gets.
Sugar.
You have to at least lift her face.
Sugar, how are you doing today? Huh? How are you doing today? You glad to be with us as well? You got some things to say? All right, I'm glad you are. Okay, so hey, I've got some other guest hosts joining us from the state. Is it Georgia? Are you guys in Georgia? Help me out here. Eddie and Tammy.
Did you cut them off too?
No, I didn't. I just brought them in. Okay, Georgia. You're in Georgia, right?
Georgia. I got Georgia on my mind.
Okay.
Way cross. And we can say over the past several days,
what a
rainy night in Georgia.
You have a beautiful voice, Eddie.
raining
thank you,
in
sister.
Georgia.
I'll tell you.
Raining.
It's been raining. Yes. The Okefenokee Swamp is full.
We are in our GoDaddy machine. This is the Mac Daddy #1 Go.
Yep. We decided to spend our anniversary, which Eddie got sick, so we couldn't actually spend our anniversary.
Oh, the devil has fought us tooth and nail. Coming here, it's been phenomenal.
Don't drop
Tammy had a terrible fall on the asphalt going between here and the bathroom the day we were leaving Thursday. We had to take her to the emergency room and have x-rays done.
Oh, no.
Yes.
Are you okay?
It'd be really what this place stands for. Well, I've got some sore ribs, but other than that, I'm fine. My palms are healing.
You wouldn't believe it. It was just unbelievable.
Yeah, my palms kind of look like hamburger.
Wow.
Ow. Ow.
Yeah.
Ow.
Now.
Now I had observed a Sukkot here in 2002 with Congregation of the Restoration of Israel, Rabbi Jeff Weiss. At that time, he was in Hilton Head, and he since moved up to Kings Mountain, right here, just a few feet from where we're sitting. He had a huge tent. I don't know how in the world the man put this together, because you couldn't do that now because there's so many people with RVs. All of the sites are booked for, I don't know, the next 2 or 3 years.
It was really an act of Yah that we were able to have the campsite for the weekend.
Truly.
Because we looked and they were booked out 2 years in advance. Every weekend for every campsite is booked out.
But Abba gave us favor with the lady that run the store after we spent $100 in there. and we had told her we were coming to celebrate our 20th wedding anniversary. Well, I got the worst case of diarrhea I have ever had, and we couldn't make it. So she said, "Well, do you want to cancel or do you want to transfer?" And Tammy said, "Well, what do you got?" And lo and behold, she had this lot for 6 days.
Well, they had it actually for 7 full days, but being that Wednesday is Rosh Chodesh on Enoch's calendar, we didn't want to have to check out on Rosh Chodesh. So we said, well, we'll leave on Tuesday. But Abba has opened the door for us.
Yeah.
Take this tomorrow afternoon over to Brunswick.
Isaiah 27:12, ladies and gentlemen. We will be going out Highway 84 out of Waycross, Georgia, and going over to the coast to spend a couple of nights in Georgia Coastal Campground.
Yeah.
And
it's not actually on the island. It's just outside the island.
Which is, in our understanding, our mirror, this is the beginning of the 7. This is the place where the 7 unknown stars begin. We're 40 miles from where God's going to strike the mouth of the river and bring us back one by one, O ye children of Israel. I love it.
Yeah, that's exciting.
As I said, our neighbors, we were gone for Thursday, Friday, and Shabbat, thank God. And they were waiting for us to get back so they could ask about the camper. And the gentleman said, "Well, why did you buy this?" And I looked at Tammy and I says, "He asked, didn't he?" So I began to give him the understanding that God's going to smite the river. He's going to do again what he did the second time. And the only reason he was standing in this camper is for that reason alone. Needless to say, his wife couldn't wait to get away from us.
Well, it seems to me that y'all are scouting out a trip that could happen very, very soon.
Yes, ma'am. You are 100% correct.
So you're the scouts.
Sandy,
and you give a great praise report on it. Yes, we shall.
Would you like to see a little tour of the camper? I'm just going to pick the camera up and do a quick little walk around because there ain't much to it.
It's real quick.
It'll just take a second.
You're facing the dinette.
Yes.
And that's the cabinet. That's me with baby.
There's the side of the refrigerator in the bathrooms back there.
Yep.
And I'm going to go kind of slow so I don't make anybody dizzy.
You got to wave if you're in a parade.
And there's the door. And We got cabinets up there.
Yeah.
And let me get on the other side of the computer. And then panning around to the bed. Kind
We
of
got to
going
figure out a way
crooked.
to hook up a camera on this thing.
Yeah. And that's the bedroom.
A GoPro.
And then coming back around, there's the that black thing.
Show them. Can you see the shot out the kitchen window?
Yeah, it's blacked out. Well, it's
And
gonna
there's
adjust.
the Wi-Fi connection.
Yeah.
That's how we're getting to you guys right there.
Yep, that's what we use.
Oh, it's
That's
pretty.
T-Mobile.
And that's our neighbors whose campfire had filled our camper
with
with
smoke
smoke.
yesterday.
When we got back to the camper yesterday.
Yeah. I mean,
Oh,
we
no.
were just asphyxiated almost. It was that bad. The wind, I
Wow.
can say the devil hates this. The wind was coming out of the south and driving the smoke right into the trailer. If
Oh,
you can
my.
imagine being at a campfire with the smoke and it's right in your face, there's no place you can go.
Yeah.
And the rangers said, well, we have no regulations on the campfires.
We have no campfire policies. He told me, pray for a change in the wind.
Yeah. Well,
That's
Hey, I've seen y'all do that.
yep. Yep.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Wow. I think we have a little bit of delay in our audio back and forth. So y'all, everybody that's listening, just bear with us because as we talk, we have this overlapping between each other. So forgive us for that.
No.
But
Wow.
well, that's really cool. I guess if it's been raining so much, wet wood smokes a lot, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. Oh boy, does it. Wow.
Well, I tell you what. Hey, so as we move along, we do have some headlines of the day that I definitely need to show everybody. So here we go. And now I'll have the right intro coming in. Okay. That's what happens when I have to produce the show. We get all sorts of funny things, but here we go. Okay, so headlines from around the world, headlines you're not going to hear anywhere else. And so, by the way, hey, we've got Bob and Stuart both showing up over there in the chat room. So, hey, good to see you guys. And hey, we got Eddie Johnson in the chat room too.
Woo!
Oh,
Oh, I can remedy that. I can be in the chat.
you can be in the chat room too. All right, so it's good to see y'all. Hey, so the first headline that I have for today, this is from the Independent out of the UK. And of course, we're in the middle of climate change. So climate change must be affecting this. Emergency biscuits flown into UK due to national shortage.
Well, you know what biscuits are in Britain, right?
Yeah, cookies.
Yeah, cookies. A lot of people don't understand that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So these are not your Kentucky Fried Chicken biscuits, by the way, or your Hardee's biscuits, or your Cracker Barrel biscuits. No.
It's a different specimen in the United States.
We are headed to Cracker Barrel after the show, by the way, to enjoy it.
Okay. I don't even want to hear it. I want to go. I want to go in.
You don't know how I wish we could take you guys.
Do you know how great it would be to have an RV sitting right beside you, just like yours, and go to Cracker Barrel together and have a discussion and sit around a campfire? And
Are you kidding me? Come on now, I'm starting to cry.
It sounds like Sukkot.
Amen, sister.
Okay, here's the next headline of the day. Of course, I don't know what the date is on this, by the way, but it's just kind of fun, kind of interesting. How about this one coming up? Man wants hell taken out of hello.
So you say,
really?
Just say,
Kingsville, Texas. Yeah, of all places. Yeah, only in Texas. Most people consider hello a friendly greeting. Leonzo Canales says something a little more sinister in the salutation. I see hell in hello. It's disguised by the O, but once you see it, it'll slap you in the face. All righty then. So, but you know something? Dave Matthews was talking one time. I didn't hear that show, but you told me a little bit about it, Sandy. When you and he were on a show together talking about the formation of words. Weren't you remember that?
It's been a long time ago.
There's a lot. So it was like, I need to look into that a little bit more, but very, very interesting. Okay, how about this next headline? Man, confident enough to be declared insane.
That's too funny.
Oh boy.
He's competent enough to be declared. You know, I've had that said about me a few times. Yes, sir, buddy.
This one makes me speechless, but yeah, it goes on. It says diagnosed schizophrenic. So
wow.
Yeah, but he's competent enough to be declared
Okay,
insane.
I just thought of something, and it's really bad. I want to say it, but I don't know if I could say it on this side. So aren't those the kind of people that they get and use for other nefarious, the government gets and uses for other nefarious purposes, and then declares it, ooh, look what just happened at this mall. Or
yeah, mind control. And there's definitely been those that have been those who created mass death have been used in mind control, and these are perfect candidates. I think they, in their psychological treatment, this is my opinion, not necessarily the Lamb Network.tv's opinion, but they use those and they take them through certain psychological treatment when they say, hey, this is a great candidate. So, yeah.
I think you crossed the line the last show, so I want you to be super careful.
Yeah, we had to delete the War Room off of Life of Worship Ministries because I said a word. I'm not going to say that word now, but because I don't want to delete it.
And this is it. I said, don't say that word, and he said it.
Well, he was reading. We heard him. Yeah, we heard it. And
God bless him.
He was reading. It's hard to leave words out whenever you're reading.
Truly. It's so sad that we don't have free speech in our nation anymore. We don't have it.
That's because our nation is the opposite of asleep.
Yeah. Oh, Lord God.
Do that.
Enough said.
Yep. How about this next headline? Well, this isn't a headline. It's a classified. Wanted, dead, gentle pony.
Well, you don't have to worry about feeding it. Or cleaning up after it.
That's weird.
It's very gentle, I guess, at that point. But
that's weird. Really.
Okay, I was trying to do a Tammy thing. What did they really mean? Was it dead? Is that like a typo, or I can't even figure out what a typo would end up being.
I know. That's just plain weird.
Agreed.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So whatever area code 941 is, they're probably still looking for that pony.
Isn't that Jacksonville?
I don't know, baby.
No, maybe that's 941.
That's close.
I think
okay, how about this next one? We got another headline of the day. This is it's from the Associated Press. I don't even have the headline, but you have to say, really? You can't make this up. In Columbus Police Chief Billy Pickens lost a handgun and cell phone from his patrol car while it was being washed by prisoners at the local training center.
That's too funny. I don't know why he didn't have shotguns and all kinds of good what do you call that crew, the guys at the strike teams that go in there, the
SWAT teams,
yeah, SWAT team gears. Load up, guys.
Wow. All I can say is wow.
Yeah, really.
Why would he leave those items in his car while he's having prisoners detail it?
I'm telling you, man.
Why would you leave those items in your car when you have anyone detailing it?
Well, that's true.
Amen, sister.
But especially prisoners.
Yeah. So, they know
Hey.
who those prisoners are, but as soon as those things got inside, I bet, yeah, lockdown. I mean, they got to do a complete lockdown.
Which I feel sad because so many of the prisons are filled with people that shouldn't be there.
Wow, they would be doing a cell to cell search. In fact, that's, Jonathan talked to us about that. I mean, they go through every single cell, every single thing, and they don't undo the lockdown until the entire prison is completed.
Or if somebody escapes, then the whole state goes down on lockdown, and it could be that weeks, and you're stuck in your cell. It's just
Yeah, there was an escaped prisoner in Texas, and totally different location from Jonathan and everybody, the whole state. Can you believe that? All right, so how about this one? Woman claims watching 3D film made her pregnant.
Oh, really? No, that's true. Hello. Yeah, buddy.
I guess the movie was pretty boring.
Well, my mind is she's trying to go there and say it's 3D, so somehow.
Well, moving right along, we are short on time.
Moving right along. Well, look at what the cat thinks.
Oh no. That's good.
That's all. Like that was the best thing about this was this picture that was attached to it.
Yeah.
All right.
Really.
So, hey, by the way, we've got Burl from Michigan showing up.
Hey, Burl, I haven't seen you in a while.
Hey, Burl. Yabba dabba do.
All right.
Okay, so there you go. Those are the headlines of the day. But we do have some shower thoughts because Bob is in the room.
That's why we do shower thoughts.
We do the shower thoughts for Bob. Bob looks forward to the shower thoughts. Okay, here we go.
Turn it off.
Okay, so here we go. Shower thoughts of the day, and going back to it. There we go. Okay, first shower thought of the day: the shots that the thoughts that flow through your head under those nice, warm, flowing waters. And here we go. First one. All you Star Wars fans.
Okay, Andy and Brenda might, and Kendra, they might have a shower thought like this.
Yeah. Anakin Skywalker. You know who Anakin Skywalker is?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So over the course of 6 movies, lost 5 of his 4 limbs in 3 duels.
That's the beauty of science fiction.
I tell you.
You can always regrow limbs.
That's right.
Okay, now I'm trying to think of the different.
In the course of 6 movies, lost 5 of his 4 limbs in 3 duels.
I get that part, but I'm trying.
Okay, what?
5 of
what? All right, so now you got to go watch 6 movies to find out which 5 limbs he lost.
Yeah, truly.
All right, how about this next shower thought? The fact that we can accidentally bite the insides of our cheeks has to be the biggest design flaw of the human body.
Okay, I take issue with that because Riyadh doesn't do anything flawed.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
That is
But I will have to say that I don't like it when I bite down the inside of my cheek. Just saying.
No.
Never ceases to amaze me when that happens. How it happens.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's true. But the fact that we don't bite down more often.
Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
thankful.
Yeah, very thankful. How about this next one here? Of course, we do eat clean around here, but this one, the first humans who ate crabs must have been really hungry to try and eat an armored sea spider.
Yeah, really.
Isn't that the truth?
That's a good description of them.
Yeah. Cockroaches of the sea. That's what they're called.
Well, that's shrimp, but that's still they're bottom feeders.
Bottom feeders, that's right. In the category of lobster, shrimp, krill, you name it. Yep.
Listen to my program, listen to the message that I did on Shabbat, people, because I went into that just a teeny bit.
Just a teeny bit. It was good. She did a
Eating
good job.
unclean, prostitution.
Yes, ma'am. She did a great job.
Yeah, that was
Awesome.
very,
Awesome.
very interesting correlation. Yeah.
Yes.
Go back and check it out. Life of Worship Ministry, shameless plug. Life of Worship Ministries on YouTube. Okay, going on here. How about this one? Between the coffee and the cocaine, it looks like the mission of Columbia is to wake up the world.
Wow.
That's good.
They had a photograph of a man doing what do you call those strings of cocaine on the streets of Portland, Oregon, with a young girl, could be his daughter, standing next to him. He was doing it right out there in the open. And they give you the drug paraphernalia to do whatever drug you want to do in Portland. It's insane. It really is.
And we are just about time.
Oh, Lord.
Almost time. So I got one last one. The biggest joke of SpongeBob is that he works at a fast food place and can afford a house.
Yeah, that's good.
Really?
Okay.
All right. That was my last shower thought of the day. We got a Torah portion that I've been waiting for all week. So looking forward to that. So here we go for the.
That's not the Torah portion, Mr. Craig. Right there.
Right there. Here we go. All right. Torah portion on its way.
Oh, Boker Tov, everyone, and Shabbat Shalom for those listening on Shabbat. We are in our camper at Waycross, Georgia today.
Laura Walker State Park.
Yes. So, and today's Torah portion is, the Parshat is Vayikra,
The beginning of the book of Leviticus.
which means he called. And it's Leviticus 1:1 through 5:26. The Haftorah is Isaiah 43:21 through 44:23. And the Brit Hadashah portion is Matthew 5:23 through 30. And
Wow.
so we've got to do things a little bit differently in here. So I don't have my mouse. So I'm coming over here to do
the Torah portion in
portion in
60 seconds.
Yes.
Here we go later.
Shalom and welcome to Parsha in 60 seconds. We have now exited the Exodus and have entered Leviticus. Today's portion is from Leviticus 1:1 through 5:26. It is called Vayikra, which means and he called. God gave the laws of sacrifices. Burnt offerings could be a bull, rams, a male goat, or turtle doves, or pigeons, which the priest burnt completely on the altar. Meal offerings were made of flour and oil, from which priests would break a piece off and burn it on the altar. And the remainder was the priest's lunch. When consumed, no leaven or honey was used, just salt. Strict and very specific protocols were given for meal, well-being, and sin offerings, which included the burning of various internal organs of animals. Offerings for just about everything you could think of, including but not limited to persons who were a silent witness, touched an unclean thing, touched human uncleanliness, uttered an oath and forgot. The person had to confess and sacrifice a female sheep or goat. If they could not afford a sheep, 2 turtle doves or 2 pigeons. And if they couldn't afford that, a handful of flour. Basically, sacrifice was required for every possible scenario. And that is Vayikra in 60 seconds. Shalom and what?
Okay, here we go. We can close that out.
I think one of the best things I ever heard to explain that really helps explain the sacrificial worship system
There we go.
was from Monty Judah when he said that the Lord loves a good barbecue.
That's right. He does.
And when you look at it, what does Psalms say? Thou preparest a table before me, hello, in the presence of mine enemies. And that's what the sacrifices are doing. That it is Yehovah's way of having a meal with his people.
Yeah.
You know?
It is. Absolutely.
Wow.
Now, Parsha Vayikra is the first reading in the book of Vayikra or Leviticus, and the 24th reading, weekly portion in the annual cycle of the Torah reading. Yehovah calls to Moses from the cloud that he couldn't enter last week and calls for him to enter where he is told about the sacrifices offered in the Mishkan or the tabernacle. Among these are sacrifices entirely burnt on the altar, the meal or grain offerings made of flour and oil with salt and frankincense, peace offerings, and sacrifices brought for unintentional and some intentional sins. Now, did you know that the oldest known name for the third book of Moses is Torah Portion, which means the law or instructions for the priests, and meaning the book which describes the functions of the priesthood and the duties of the priestly nation. The name Vayikra is from the opening Hebrew word, and the title Leviticus is derived from the Septuagint. So that's pretty cool. Now, since this is the first reading from the book, let's take a quick look at the entire book for just a second. The first half of the book deals with different sacrifices and the laws that safeguard the priestly character of Israel. The second half deals with holiness and the sanctification of human life. So back to this Parsha. These chapters discuss 4 types of personal sacrifices that are outlined in the scripture for tabernacle worship. And John and Sandy, if y'all want to jump in anytime to discuss these, that'd be great. The first one is the Olah or burnt offering, the Mincha, which is the meal or grain offering, Zavak Shelamim, peace or thanks offerings, and the Chatat or sin offering. And there is one very special sacrifice that is not even spoken of in the whole book of Leviticus. So, Eddie, do you know which sacrifice that is?
The red heifer.
Mm-hmm. And that is a very special sacrifice. And do you know what else is missing from the entire book of Leviticus? Do you remember what else is missing?
Yes.
What's that?
There are no double dids. None.
One.
Not one in the whole book of Leviticus.
Yep. So, would you say that the double dids they kind of remind you of a deja vu? Like, whoa, I've done this before. What do you guys think? Come on back in, John and Sandy, if you can discuss this with us a minute. Can y'all hear us? There you are.
They're going to discuss it a lot come this Shabbat, I'll guarantee you. And I'm going to sit there going, wow, man, where do they get all that?
I think y'all are muted.
Sorry about that. We have a dog issue going on here. I'm trying to figure out what this one needs. She's trying to tell us something.
Okay, no, you have a good conversation with it.
Dropped a ball in your lap.
Yeah, that one. The ball
That's what it is. They
under the
want to
table.
play. So, would you say that the double dids are kind of like a deja vu, where it says, whoa, I've been here before, or I've done this before?
It is interesting
that can certainly be a way to look at
that. Book, isn't it? I mean, you have the equidistant letter spaces of Yeshua that go from Bereshit.
The word Torah.
I think it's Yeshua, but
we'll
we'll use Torah. We'll use Torah in her example. But the unique thing is that in Genesis and Leviticus, they're pointing towards Leviticus. And Genesis and Exodus, they're found pointing towards Leviticus. And then you go to Numbers and Deuteronomy, and it's reversed. Like it's with Leviticus being the center.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this is an extremely important book. As we've shared before, you're young. Any Orthodox Jewish male entering yeshiva, he is started out in Leviticus. That's what he is given to memorize the entire booklet. Book.
Yeah. And it's also interesting that there are 13 Torah portions in the book of Leviticus. What is the number 13? Echad.
And I like to bring this little interesting thing. It's just an aside thing. It's, people discuss this a lot. Where was our Messiah crucified? Was he crucified on the Mount of Olives? But I got to shut up because Tammy says that's coming in the next.
He likes to get ahead of my notes.
I'm sorry.
But that's okay. So, what have you ever had a situation where you felt like you were in a time warp? Where
I think Sandy does that with Mark every day on was that chapter?
no, it's
The planet
Thursdays.
chapter. Yeah.
Planet chapter. There you go. Y'all are always in a time warp there.
Well, I mean, you experience something that will take you an hour to explain, but it really only happened in a few seconds. Have you ever had that happen? Kind of like my fall. Okay, it happened instantaneously, but to explain it takes a lot.
Or if you have the boss speak to you early on Shabbat morning, and he speaks 3 words, I heard you, and it's just like it explodes in you. He speaks 3 words, and you know exactly what he's referring to.
Right.
It's so much more than just 3 words.
Yeah.
Well, I have to say that we are experiencing a time warp in the Torah portions right now. And why do I say that? Well, the whole the whole book of Leviticus through Numbers chapter 9 verse 8 is kind of like a time warp, because all of that time for all of these portions are only going to take 15 days to accomplish. But okay, chapter let's see, let me just read this because I can't get my brain to bring it into words. Okay,
We know you had a bad fall.
so yeah, we did have a bad fall.
Yeah.
Anyway, the time warp kind of thing is what we're going to experience with this book of Leviticus, because all the way through chapter 9 verse 8
of Numbers,
this is the last, which Numbers chapter 9 verse 8 is the last double did for the children of Israel as a whole. And it reads, and they kept the Passover on the 14th day of the first month at evening in the wilderness of Sinai, according to all that the Lord commanded Moses. So did the children of Israel. If we didn't make it clear in last week's Parsha, Moses erected the Mishkan, or the tabernacle, on the 1st of Aviv. During this Parsha, this particular Parsha, he was called into the cloud inside the Holy of Holies, where Yehovah, or Yeshua, downloaded the entire book of Leviticus. Now, the Torah doesn't specify how long he was in there, and some of this may have been dictated while he was on the mount in the cloud on top of Mount Sinai. And again, the Torah doesn't specify what exactly was spoken of there, except the building of the tabernacle. But the whole book of Leviticus describes the instructions for operating the Mishkan on a day-to-day basis. The first 9 chapters of Numbers details the census of the people and the redemption of the firstborn in the Levites, and the dedication of the priests and Levites, then the keeping of the first Passover, or Pesach, in the wilderness. And all of this, Exodus 40, chapter 40, verse 2, through Numbers chapter 9, verse 8, took place within just 15 days.
Wow.
That's 17 Torah portions in 15 days. So that's kind of why I said this is like a time warp, because it's going to take us a couple of months to go through all of this, but in reality, it only happened in 15 days. So getting back to this week's Parsha, I'd like to go back to the beginning of the Parsha. The first type of sacrifice detailed is the Olah, or the burnt offering. And in my opinion, this particular offering is the one that makes me think of Yeshua more than any other.
Mm-hmm.
And my Chumash commentary puts it this way. The burnt offering embodies the idea of the submission of the worshiper to the will of Yehovah. Now, does that not sound exactly what our Messiah did? And this is in its most perfect form, as the entire animal was placed upon the altar to be burnt. The Hebrew name for the burnt offering, olah, signifies that which ascends.
Right.
And that's exactly what Yeshua did.
That's exactly what he did.
Symbolizing the ascent of the soul in worship. By making the offering ascend to heaven, the one who offers it expresses his desire and intention to ascend himself to heaven, i.e., to devote himself entirely to Yehovah and place his life in God's service. So what do y'all think about the Olah offering?
I'm really big on talking about the Olah offering, because the Olah offering was done with great joy. It was done with praise. It was done with worship. But the Olah offering, it really represents complete surrender to Yah, because we are to be that Olah offering that burns on the altar every time we come together, because that is that consuming fire and the smell of the bride to our King. That is what we are to be. And I always caution people. I'm like, guys, when you choose to not worship, when you choose not to give yourself entirely, when that Torah observant is about is finding the new fact that you didn't know to tickle your ears or somebody else's or make yourself look great, and because that is completely you receiving from him. Mm-hmm. But the Olah, the complete burnt offering, is what we give to him, and that is you and that is me. Yes, it was completely consuming the animal, but spiritually speaking, it's this portrait of somebody who's completely and wholly dedicated to him, because that is what we are to be. We are to be. And that consuming fire, when we become that pleasing incense to him, when we literally pour ourselves out in worship, and we pour ourselves out, dedicating ourselves to him, devoted, as we talked about, holy unto him on Shabbat.
What was that song you sang
yesterday? Hopelessly devoted to him. Yeah. Wow. That's a good. That's excellent. That's an excellent description.
I think that's going to be preached on Shabbat.
Actually, I was going to tell John, I'll take the message on Shabbat again. So. I'm sort of passionate about the sacrifices and the stuff like that. So yeah.
Wow. Wow.
Anyway.
Well, maybe you should take a Torah study.
Maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll do one or the other.
So I want to say something too, and that's kind of an interesting thing about this Olah offering and where it's supposed to be offered. And it mentions it right here in verse 5. And it says of Leviticus chapter 1, verse 5, Vayikra chapter 1, verse 5. And it says, shall offer up the blood and sprinkle the blood around on the altar that is at the doorway of the tent of meeting. So it's talking about the slaying of the young bull before Yahweh, and they shall offer it up. And it goes on at the doorway at the tent of meeting. And I'm thinking of the doorway, and I talked about this on this last Shabbat, how in the 4 different places from Exodus chapter 19 until the last Torah portion, Shabbat is mentioned 4 times. Mm-hmm. And I mentioned, I was talking about that during the Torah portion this last week, but 4 times. Well, what's the 4th letter of the Aleph Beit? It's the Dalet. And it is the doorway. It's the doorway. So is there a connection, therefore, of the Shabbat and the Olah offering?
Without a question. Absolutely. Without a question.
Absolutely. Sister. And then you take it a step further. It's called Holy Shabbat. It's devoted to him. Shabbat is about being devoted to him. And so that should give us the picture, holy, devoted to him, about the Olah, about that anyway.
So it is a whole burnt offering.
We're to call the Shabbat our delight. Go ahead.
Exactly.
Isaiah 58, call it our delight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You know? Yeah, and exactly. Yeah, and that's the thing. It's not drudgery, and the very fact that it really makes us pause if we connect it to the Shabbat, and it's a whole burnt offering. that it's
Mhm.
wholly devoted and completely given to Yah that day. And then we think,
Yes.
am I splitting my focus, am I splitting it up between different things? In other words, do I reserve this little bit where we gather, and then the rest of it I devote, to my own self and my pleasures and my desire during that day? Or is it wholly and completely devoted unto Yah?
Pastor, you stopped teaching and gone to meddling now. You're meddling.
Well, it's just the elephant in the room.
You're absolutely right.
I
That
mean,
monster elephant, buddy.
and with what measure you meet, it will be measured back to you again.
Oh, God help us.
So if
Mhm.
you devote the entire Shabbat to Him and to learning about Him and worshiping Him and making the whole Shabbat about Him, then He is going to in turn pour out to you.
You said it, honey. You're absolutely right.
Not only
Okay.
in your rock, your spirit, but also in all factions of your life.
Oh, yeah. With
Yeah.
what
So
measure?
burn for him.
Yeah.
Yes.
So with what measure you meet, it will be measured to you again. If you only give him a little bit of the Shabbat, as Pastor was,
Saying,
starting to meddle.
yeah.
He says, then he's only going to meet you with that little portion. But buddy, if you do the whole enchilada
Mhm.
and there's no limit to your delight, hang on.
I posed that question on Shabbat. I said, do you want him to be devoted to you with the same measure that you're devoted to him?
Well,
Right.
that's a good question.
Right.
Good question. Yeah.
And
Oh,
then
boy.
it takes us to another thought too. And I was just thinking about this last week's Torah portion because boy, it just fits in this week as well. And that has to
Mhm.
do with, and I tied the connection together between us being a light. Yeshua was a light to us. He's a light to the world. He's the way, the truth, and the life. And he's the light of the world. And he says that we are to be lights. And going back to Genesis chapter 1, on the fourth day, what do we have? The lights are created. The lights in the heavens. So,
Yes.
and I tied the lights to the
Mhm.
word
Mhm.
oat, O-T-H,
Oat.
oat,
Yeah.
which is signs. Signs in the heavens. Signs in the
Wedding.
heavens are the lights, and it is the wedding ring. And so, which takes us, the Shabbat is the wedding ring, the fourth day, the fourth Shabbat's talked about there. And then we get it here at the doorway. And I think it's also the sign that ties that complete devotion of the Shabbat together, is really
Yes.
the sign of the bride.
And we just took over Tammy's Torah portion.
Sorry. Okay.
Okay, no, that's good, because what you were talking about in verse 5, go a little bit further into chapter 1, verse 11 through 13. And here is where and how this offering is to be conducted.
Now, understand the difference between they're killing a bull at the door,
Uh-huh.
but this is the lamb. This is of the flock. It's a different animal.
Okay.
So now instead of it being at the door of the Mishkan, this is now at the altar.
Right.
Okay. And
Okay.
Yeshua is the lamb
Lamb.
of the flock.
That's right.
That's the
And
difference.
he's the perfect lamb.
Yes.
And specifically, verse 11 says it is to be killed on the
North
side of the altar.
Yes.
So what? You mean it's not on the east side where
No.
the opening of the tabernacle faced?
And the temple. The temple faced east.
Right. And the Mount of Olives is on the east side, but it's to be killed on the north
The
side
lamb
of
and
the altar.
the offerings of the flocks are always on the north side. And that's why the garden tomb is on the north side, ladies and gentlemen.
And Golgotha is on the
That
north side.
Mount Moriah, north side. You come out of the Damascus gate, keep on trucking down that hill. You go to cross that road, you go up another hill around the corner, and there it is, baby.
Yeah.
That's where he was. That's where he was crucified.
And verse 13 specifies the inwards and the legs shall be washed with water. I don't fully understand why not the whole of the animal to be washed with water. But to me, the washing symbolizes the preparation for burial that was done for Yeshua's body
Exactly.
after
That's
the
what I was going to say.
crucifixion
That
and
was exactly what I was saying.
and before the
foreshadow.
ascension. Before
Right.
the ascension, which was the Olah offering being fully burned up.
Yes.
And Olah meaning ascension.
Wow. It goes deep, guys. It
Yes,
just
it
gets so
does.
deep. You just say, wow.
And lastly, my Chumash commentary said, it states that the Olah offering is the oldest and most common form of sacrifice for the community and individual.
Mm-hmm.
And it remained the chief spontaneous offering of the individual. It was brought whenever a man's conscience prompted him to do so from a feeling of estrangement from God. And what happened when Yeshua was on that cross?
He was,
He
my
felt,
God, why hast thou forsaken me?
In expiation of evil thoughts or unwitting sins, as in Job 1:5, and it was open to all men, even heathens from foreign countries, and was the most striking form of the Israelite communion with God. So that was really so profound.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, there's a lot of the details for the other offerings that is spelled out in this Torah portion, but the Olah offering is just
It's
number
like
one.
I said.
I love
ahead,
it. I love to talk about the Olah offering. And if you think about this, it says in Psalms 46, it says, sacrifice and offering you did not desire, my ears you have opened. See, Yah desires our whole lives as sacrifice in for him and obedience. And if we even think about that, if we think about our lives in obedience to him, maybe even go to the bondservant's ear was pierced, right, by an awl. And we know that Yeshua was that Olah, as you're talking about. And we can look at it through Isaac. We can look at it through all of these different things. But ultimately, we are the burning sacrifice, and the aroma rises up to him when we truly give him our all. And
You said
so,
when we truly. Isn't that what you said? That's that Shirley and all those others. You know?
Yes, it's our heart. We have to do it from the heart. Otherwise, it's just, rote.
That's why,
routine.
there's all this confusion and conflict over the calendar system. Listen, I don't care what day you choose you want to do your Passover. I just pray that you do it, as Sister says, as an Olah, with your whole heart. Mm-hmm. God wants your heart.
Yes.
He'll straighten out the day, when the time comes, but he wants your heart. Where is your heart in this? If you're, like you say, doing it just to do the rote business, it's no good to him. He wants all of us.
Devotion.
He wants a pure offering. Amen.
Amen. I have to say this as well, and I think we should never lose the picture of this, is that these things, when it took place and they did these offerings, that it was not somber. These were not somber occasions.
No,
that they came with great I won't say pomp and circumstance. Maybe it was pomp and circumstance.
With the Olah, there was shouting. There was a raising of your voice. There was worship. There was all of these things with the Olah.
Yeah. Amen. Yeah. So like at Life of Worship, we when we have our services, we believe that we should study the Word and gather and so we can have revelation, but
Amen.
we ought to take that which has been downloaded into us and return it as praise, as offering, in the shouts, in the joy, in the singing, in the dancing. It should all come together that way, because
and it's free will. Always remember, it's free will. It's our choice.
So when it says that he inhabits our praises, or that he's enthroned upon the praises of Israel, why? Because it is that ascending offering that he
Yes.
loves the aroma of. If we shorten our services, or if we short him of our praise, what essence is he? What aroma is he enjoying?
Stench.
Right.
Right.
Wow.
And because it
True.
takes really oftentimes that sacrifice of praise is a sacrifice because our flesh a lot of times doesn't want to do it. And
No.
and because it takes a lot. It's like, I'm not in the mood. I don't want to sing. Someone
watching
who's
me?
watching, who's listening, or whatever.
Yes.
And what it's a smell instead of an aroma. And
Come on,
because
bro.
bad attitudes, wrong attitudes, or just inhibited attitudes can neutralize that aroma effect that the Father loves.
Oh man,
We're
And
out
I
of
hate
time,
to,
brother.
I hate to say it, but we're out of time.
Well, I love it. It's just
Time
getting good.
flies. Time
Yes, it
flies.
Great
is.
Torah portion.
Yeah, time flies when we're
Yeah.
having fun.
Oh,
Okay, join us on
bro.
the other side. We got some things to talk about. Boy, you do not want to miss the uncensored news. We'll
You're
see you
not
on the other side.
Love y'all.